Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I am very excited about today's video. It has been like just over a month in the making and I've had the idea for a little bit longer than that, but I'm finally getting to be able to film it. This video is everything you need to know about Hanna Sandvig and her fairy tale romances, part 1. Now, I tried to fit it all in one video, but as I was like writing out notes and like going through Hanna's like past newsletters, and I was, like I had also like sent in some questions to her and everything. The more I was kind of going in depth with it, the more I was like, yeah, this needs to be 2 parts because it's going to take me a while. So this is part 1, and I've already kind of like, thankfully, I have a structure. So I'm going to try to stick to that. So if you guys don't see me like looking at you, the camera, it's because my computer is right here and I'm reading off my notes. I'm going to try not to like read them like too much verbatim necessarily, but I feel like notes help me, especially if there's just such a big subject. So yeah, so this is part 1 and I'm going to try to upload it probably as soon as I'm done filming, like maybe like the next day after filming. So yeah, grab yourself a cozy drink. I have like the remainders of my coffee. It's pumpkin spice. So get yourself a fun drink, sweet treat or whatever, and sit back and relax because this is everything about, again, Hanna Sandvig and her fairy tale romances. So I'm really excited about this. So if you don't know what these books are, I have done a few reading videos, like reading some excerpts from these books in past videos, and I've done a reading video for every single one of the books, and I even did a reading video for the same book twice because it's my favorite. Just to kind of show you guys, oh gosh, these are the books. This is really heavy, so I'm gonna make this quick. I have the 3 hardback copies or hardcovers of the 3 main novels, and then I have all the paperbacks and you can see that the shorter ones are the novellas. Ow, oh gosh, that actually hurt. I almost squished my finger. Gosh, that hurt. But yeah, and she's actually working on releasing hardcover copies of the novellas as well, but she's gonna like add extra stuff to it, but we're gonna get to that later. First, I've got to have my structure. So when I was working on like, okay, how am I gonna structure this video and have like a layout for it, I immediately thought of my favorite podcast, which is The Office Ladies. I don't know if you guys know who that is. This is just a little quick plug for them. But The Office Ladies is the 2 main female actresses from the show The Office, Jenna Fisher, Angela Kinsey. I am such a big fan of their podcast. And when I was trying to figure out like how to do like everything for this video, I was like, maybe I should do the structure that they do in the podcast, which is kind of giving like fast facts at the beginning. So that's what I'm going to do. So first of all, again, if you guys do not know what the fairy tale romances are from Hanna Sandvig, go watch my reading videos on those. And if you don't have time to go and watch those, I'm going to give you a quick blurb for the whole series. Basically, Hanna Sandvig's fairy tale romances are modern day retellings of different fairy tales. So we have Snow White, she's done Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, The Frog Prince, Little Red Riding Hood, all of those. And basically it takes place in the fictional town of Pilot Bay. It's like it's kind of like a little mountain town in British Columbia. And it's like these, kind of like human girls from, this town, different ones. They're kind of like, their stories are like interconnected. So it's like a series of like slightly interconnected standalones. Well, they're all interconnected, but like the standalone part, we'll get to that. But basically it's about all these different girls in this town that through some reason or another, they go through a portal or a fairy gate into the world of fairy, and they have adventures, and they might meet their Prince Charming. So anyway, that's kind of a little taste of that. So, oh, I'm so excited to say this. Fast fact number 1. Oh, I feel like I'm on Office Ladies already. Fast fact number 1 is a little bit about Hanna Sandvig. And she gave me permission to go through all of her past newsletters that I've been sent. So I'm just going to read off from what she had actually sent, which was a little bit about herself, in one of the first newsletters that I got from her. So here we go. In Hannah's own words. Keep in mind that this is from like a couple of years ago, but I'm assuming that it's all still true. So in Hannah's words, a little bit about herself. I live in the mountains of BC, British Columbia, with my husband, 3 daughters, and a giant cat named Finnegan. I'm not kidding. He's the size of at least 3 normal cats. I've seen pictures of this cat. He is ginormous, but he is floofy. I set Pilot Bay in my own beloved Kootenay, I think that's how you pronounce it, Kootenay region, because these are the forests that inspire me to tell stories. I actually draft most of my books while hiking in the woods. It's true, she like dictates her stories to a recorder while she's on her hikes. That just sounds amazing. When I'm not hiking, I love to read, unsurprisingly, bake, and spend time in my garden under the watchful eye of my chickens. I've been an illustrator for longer than I've been a writer, and always have a few art projects on the go. I also sew and am addicted to anime and drink 3 to 4 cups of tea a day. And then a little side note, she wrote ginger tea as I type this. That's so sweet. And then I took the liberty of adding a few extra notes about Hanna that I think other people should really know. So obviously she is a talented illustrator. She literally she's the one who like designs and draws these covers digitally. And then we'll get to it, but she also designs and illustrates all of these like pieces of art that are in the books. Like, she is amazing. And one cool thing about when she is illustrating, she often uses a reference photo. There is actually a really cool art print. I don't have it on me right now, but there's a really cool art print of one of the couples from the first book, The Rose Gate, and it's like a cute picture. She did like a Christmassy picture of like the main couple. They're just kind of cuddling on a couch, and like the main girl is reading a book, and the guy is just kind of sitting next to her, has his arm around her, and then there's like a cat kind of snuggled nearby. And she actually took a reference photo, like she and her husband like sat on their couch and like posed basically the same way that the couple are in the drawing, and then she did like her own variation of it. It's really cool, like how she did that art process, which I get that. Like, it's, you know, even like when I have been known to draw, I like to use reference photos too, because it's just kind of easier to get the picture out of my mind that way. And one cool thing about her illustrative process is she does color versions, and then she'll do a different coloring pass for black and white versions. So like, obviously I just showed you guys, there's a picture in the beginning of this that is, wait, what is it? It's black and white. So she has done color versions of that, but she'll do like a completely different pass. So she'll draw it in black, like she'll do it in color, and then she'll have a completely different coloring pass for like black and white versions, because she adds shades of gray to actually add like that kind of definition and depth to the drawing and whatnot. Also in her books, particularly like her special editions or like the ones she does for her Kickstarters, she will include delicious recipes that appear in the books, because of course, you know, these are cute, cozy fantasy romances. So like, you know, why wouldn't she include, recipes and whatnot? Also, this is just a note that I added that I thought was super adorable. She literally gives the best customer service for like shipping and stuff, because she does, she's on Patreon, and obviously I'm gonna have all the links for her down in the description, links to her website, her Patreon, her Instagram, all that. she literally gives like the best customer service. Especially on because now she's doing Patreon. She does like a consistent like swag pack for a certain like tier on her Patreon, and then like if you're just like a member in general, she'll also have like a swag shop that you can like buy later, like separately or whatever. And I've had correspondence with her over like different, items of swag over the past couple of years that I've, been reading her books, that I've kind of contacted her like, as an author and everything. And she just gives the best customer service, and she's just like the absolute sweetness. Like she'll, like let me know like if there's, a delay in the process of like, oh, hey, I'm sorry. Like I'm waiting for like the printer person to like get back with me on like this art print or this sticker or whatever. Like she just gives the best, again, customer service. There was actually a swag pack that I bought recently, and I was able to like pick and choose kind of like what things. So it wasn't that I bought like a specific swag pack. It was just like I bought different pieces of swag that I didn't have yet. And she was like, hey, so I noticed you got this one sticker, but you didn't get this other one, because it was, she does like stickers, like little chibi stickers of like each main character in the books. I'll show those off in like a separate video. I want to do like a separate small video for like merch. But I had gotten, but I already had like the other chibi sticker that was like the other part of that couple, basically. I hope this makes sense. And she was like, well, actually, the one that you would have gotten is like smaller. I can just slip in the one that like matches, that's like a little bit bigger, that would, match, like her partner, basically. And I thought it was just like so stinking cute. Actually, hold on. I feel like I'm not making very much sense. So I'm going to just show this, but I'm not going to show all of them. I'm still going to make a short little separate video on her swag, like showing it off. But for right now, just for understanding's sake. So basically, this is a cute little chibi sticker. This is of Neve. She's the Snow White character. I actually had this sticker, but it was smaller. It was just like a little bit shorter. And I had thought that I didn't need it because I already, had it, and I thought that it was supposed to be that small size. And so this is Killian. This is her love interest. And so when I was buying the swag pack with all the different other stickers, I just added him to the cart because I was like, well, I already have Neve. But then Hannah had messaged me and was like, well, the chibi sticker of Neve that's out now is actually bigger, and she would match better with Killian. And so she just like slipped this into the swag pack at no extra cost. And it was just, it was just her just being just like the sweetest darn person ever. Like she's not just an amazing author and illustrator, but she's just a great person. So anyway, we aren't even into the main part of this video yet. So anyway, I'm going to move on. Fast fact number 2. I'm going to tell you guys a little fun story, so sit back. I mean, you're already hopefully sitting back, but this is a little bit about how I discovered her books. I'm so excited about this. Okay. All right, so for those of you guys who don't know, and I probably will have to do a video about this, kind of telling some of my story, but basically, back in 2022, I was living in Redding, California. I had attended BSSM, the Bethel School of Supernatural Ministry, and I had finished school in spring of 2022, and then I lived there for an extra year before moving back to Texas. So I was still living in California. I just graduated my 3rd year, and I was just like kind of working, just living there, So anyway, I am going to start kind of reading my notes so that way I'm staying on track. I had a lot more time on my hands, and I was beginning to get back into reading because during school, we all read like nonfiction, and every now and then I would read like a fiction book to just kind of help my mind just kind of, because like if you're someone who like it's not very easy for you to read nonfiction, you'll understand this. So like every now and then I would read fiction, but not really. But anyway, I was starting to get back into just kind of like reading and like transitioning to just reading like fiction books. But, you know, there was some times where it was just kind of difficult to read or to find time to read. So anyway, for 3 years, I'd done nothing but reading nonfiction. And for many years, Beauty by Robin McKinley had been my favorite Beauty and the Beast retelling, but now I was looking for something more. And if you guys have watched my Beauty and the Beast video, it was like showing off all of the like retellings and adaptations that I have. You'll know that Beauty by Robin McKinley is like my absolute favorite. I'm gonna actually have to do a reading video on that because it's really good. So anyway, cue the Rose Gate. I was looking for something more. I found it by doing countless Google searches for clean Beauty and the Beast retellings, and this book came up on a few lists online. So I ordered the paperback from Amazon, and I just kind of put it on my little shelf. I had like, you know, a few books that were out on my dresser. And then skip ahead a month. At the end of August of that year, I decided to take a week off of work because some friends of mine were pregnant. They were going to have a baby. And they thought absolutely for sure, like rock solid, we're absolutely certain that the baby was going to be coming that week, last week of August. And I was supposed to go over and watch their little girl, their eldest. She was maybe like a year and a half, maybe a year, maybe almost 3 years actually. I was supposed to watch her for like a day or two while they're at the hospital, but let's just say it didn't really work out. And the wife of this couple had the baby over a week later, but by then I was back at work and I had stayed home for just like that week. And yeah, it was definitely a kind of an awkward situation, and I know that like I could have picked up a few hours at work, but yeah, I was just too anxious that I would be needed at like any moment. And also like throughout that week, I had only gotten like one text from my manager asking like, hey, is it possible that you could pick up this shift? And I was like, I like, you know, like how like sometimes thoughts roll around in your head and you're like, well, what if like as I'm there, the wife goes into labor and I'm not able to get out of it? And like, you know, so like that's why I didn't pick up any work that week, because I was like, oh, for sure I'm gonna be needed, you know. Yeah, it did not happen. The couple, thankfully, they were so sweet though, and I feel so bad for that situation. That just like, it was just one of those awkward things that happened that's just like, ugh. But the couple was so sweet, and they ended up still kind of like paying me some money for like, you know, my time, like taking that week off of work. And honestly, I don't regret it because I got to read The Rose Gate. So actually, now that I think about it, at the time of filming this, oh my gosh, no way, I'm looking at my notes. Okay, I didn't even plan this. I forgot about this. At the time of filming this, today is September 2nd. September 2nd was the day that I read The Rose Gate. Oh my gosh. Guys, no one's gonna believe me. No one's gonna believe me that this wasn't like some sort of setup. It's not. I forgot. Oh my gosh. So anyway, so all that whole week, I just been kind of like sitting around the house, like, you know, just kind of waiting, you know. I kind of like did a lot of crafting, and I also kind of maybe watched the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy and the Hobbit trilogy. By this time, I was like done with TV. I was just like, I need something to do. And then I saw the book on my shelf and I was like, okay, here we go. Let's do this. I decided maybe I'll just start reading it. So anyway, according to my notes, my week off was coming to a close. It was Friday, September 2nd of 2022, and I decided to start reading The Rose Gate, and I read it with breakfast. I kept reading and reading and reading. I sat in the living room. I went outside on the patio, and we had like a nice like couch out there, and it was all sunny and cute. And then I would like go up and like sit in my room on my bed and read. And then at some point, it was like early afternoon. I think I was reading outside. I was sitting on the patio. The sun was like coming down on me. And I like looked at like the page that I was on, and I realized that I was like pretty much like halfway through this book. And I thought to myself, am I going to finish this book today? And so like the afternoon, you know, went on, and I kind of was just like, you know what? I think I can do this. I think I can finish reading this book in one day. And so I kept going. And of course, like, I, did my normal things. Like I got dinner, I showered. And then like at some point, I think it was like around, let me see. Yeah, it was like around like 8 p.m. when I turned to the last page. So it was like around 8 p.m. or so on that Friday. And I realized like what I had just accomplished. I was just like, I actually did that. I actually read a book in a day, and I did not remember the last time that I did that. I think the last time I did that was with like a Nancy Drew book, which, to be fair, Nancy Drew books are super short and they're all the same length. So like you could easily read one of those in a day, but it's just, I couldn't believe that I had read this book. This book was like just over, 300 pages, and it was just, it was such a big accomplishment for me. And yeah, and I would say it got me out of a reading slump, and it made me want to be a reader again. But yeah, that is how I discovered and read The Rosegate for the very first time. And of course, according to my notes, I did know that she had a couple of other books. So it took me quite a while to buy her novellas, because obviously she had The Glass Gate out at this point. That's the second like main novel. But I had been wanting to get the 2 novellas because I knew that those were like, those kind of went in between like the first book or whatever. And so I knew that I needed to get those eventually, but it was a while before I did. It was like early the next year when I finally got them. But for now, let's put a pin in that, because I'm going to move on to fast fact number 3. My name is in one of her books. Guys, my name is in one of her books. So let's get started. So her third main novel in the series is The Frostgate, the Snow White retelling. And I got to be a typo hunter for her. So if you're not really familiar with like how the editing process works for a independent author, then let me guide that through you really quick. They have a lot of like beta readers. Like they have like certain people that they choose to like read their book, people who like know how to look for grammatical errors, who know like, how a story should flow. If, one thing is like awkward with like one character or another, just kind of making the story flow better. And I was a typo hunter because I did know like, certain grammatical, errors and stuff, but I mostly knew how to look for typos, because typos definitely, I would say, stick out like a sore thumb to me. And so I was on the typo hunting group for that. So anyway, and also I got to inform a really cool moment at the end of the book, but I'm moving a little too fast. So here we go. I did what any typo hunter would do. I obviously found typos, and I helped smooth out a few sentences in the story. I actually have like fun little screenshots of like my work that actually like got used in the book, which made me happy. But anyway, towards the end of the book, I realized something horrible, absolutely horrible. There wasn't any reference to Marvel. Gasp! Okay, so you're probably wondering, what the heck am I talking about? What is this with Marvel? What's going on? So Hannah, I'm assuming that she is a Marvel fan, obviously. So there is a character in the books. She's like a fairy godmother, kind of nosy aunt type of character. She's like the head librarian in the town of Pilot Bay. She's really funny. Again, super nosy. And her name is Miss Chloe. She's so adorable. And yeah, so let me kind of explain this. So in each of her books, Hannah includes a reference to Marvel through the character of Miss Chloe that I just mentioned. And yes, she is Pilot Bay's sassy librarian, and she has a very mysterious connection to the world of fairy, but and also her character loves Marvel. Literally, in each book, there is some kind of reference to Marvel, except one of them, and it's one of the novellas, but that makes sense because she doesn't really appear in that book that much, really. Wink, wink. So like, for example, the first time we meet her, we actually get to see kind of the inside of her adorable little cottage, and she has like a pillow with like the Iron Man mask like stitched onto it. So that's like the one little cameo. In the glass gate, she has like an Captain America chibi keychain. And also in the Rose Gate especially, it comes out that she has an obsession with Chris Hemsworth because because she just loves how he plays Thor. She just loves it. And then also, it's mentioned in the Glass Gate, I believe, but she's obsessed with watching Loki. Because there's, like, a mention of, like, well, like, you know, like, are you wanting to finish, you know, the Loki series, you know? And, which is really funny. And also, at the time of this book coming out, season 2 of Loki had not dropped. So, if you know, you know. But as I had been reading The Frost Gate, the character Miss Chloe is in it quite a bit. And I had noticed, like, as I was getting towards the end of the book and it was on, like, the last scene, I was just like, there is no Marvel reference. Like, every time we've been seeing Miss Chloe, there is absolutely nothing. Like, I know, like, in the grand scheme of things, I was just like, okay, like, you know, we got to make sure the whole book as a whole, you know, flows really well. But I was just like, there's no mention of Marvel. Like, I don't know why I just hung up on that one thing. But yeah, so I decided to make a little comment on the document that I was on about it. And I had suggested in the last chapter, you see there's a scene where Miss Chloe is like rummaging through her purse for something. And I had suggested that there should be a throwaway line about like a Marvel item. And I just had suggested like, what if she has like a Thor like chibi keychain or something that she loves, you know, since she loves Thor so much. And I think I had forgotten about that Captain America chibi keychain, but it makes sense that she would have all of the chibis, all of them. And so guess what? She put it in the book. So I'm going to go to the back of the book. I'm actually going to use the paperback because it's a little bit easier. And I'm going to read you that moment, except I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm just going to be very, very, very careful about it. Yes. Very, very careful. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. So this is the epilogue of the book, and it is in the perspective, or the POV is from a character named Amber, which we'll talk more about her at some point. So anyway, I knew I should have put a bookmark in here at some point, but I didn't. Can you guess why? I wasn't quite prepared. Here we go. I believe it is in here. Yes. Oh, duh. It was at the beginning. I was looking throughout the whole epilogue. Okay. Miss Chloe hid beside me, rummaging through her purse. The bag was adorned with her favorite Thor chibi keychain and stuffed with regular items. Keys, wallet, paperback romances, and not so regular items, sleeping potions, enchanted gemstones, a ring that she forbade me to touch, but I was pretty sure made the wearer turn into a snail. And that's the moment. She just added the little thing about the Thor chibi keychain. Yes, that made me so happy. And then, just to prove to you guys that I am in one of her books. Oh, yes, that's right. I actually did underline it in the acknowledgements. A big shout out to my typo hunters. I don't know if you guys can see that, but right there. So yes. Is that my claim to fame? Maybe. I'm just kidding, no. But, and another cool fun fact is that she loves to do like fun giveaways and fun puzzles and stuff for her followers. And so as the Frostgate was getting ready to be released, she did like a fun little crossword puzzle for all of us typo hunters and beta readers. And like since we had read the book early, she was like, okay, you have to fill in the crossword with different things that you found throughout the book. And one of the clues was about the keychain. Literally. And since I was the one who suggested it, I was like, oh, I already know the answer to this. It was Thor. It was the Thor keychain. So anyway, yeah. Those are all my fast facts. So yeah, moving on to the actual main part of this video, which is going to be talking about the books. And I'm going to give kind of like some quick summaries of each book. So that way, again, you guys can kind of have like a feel for what these stories are about. And yeah. And also it's going to help you with like the actual order of the books too. Like the order of like what to read them in. And also, I hope that these summaries are really good. I wrote them myself instead of just like grabbing her summaries. So yeah, they're super short. Hopefully they'll make sense. Hopefully they'll be succinct. So anyway, so starting off, you have, actually, hold on. I just realized I might as well hold up the books as I read the summaries. So first of all, we have The Wolf Gate. The Wolf Gate is about Audrey. Audrey is an anime nerd and computer geek living in the small town of Pilot Bay, British Columbia. And one night, on an errand for her friend Nev, who works at the local cafe, aka the only cafe, she gets chased by wolves through a portal into Faerie. The wolf who follows her is her ex-boyfriend Gavin, who broke her heart. Oh, that's even worse. They travel through Faerie, trying to evade his wolf pack, who's enslaved to Moriath, the unseelie queen. Audrey begins to learn more about the magic of Faerie from an unlikely mentor, all the while beginning to soften towards Gavin. Kind of beginning to be like, you know what, I might forgive him. So that's the first one, and that's a novella. And again, we'll actually be talking more about this book in part 2, because I have a lot to say about it. But anyway. Then we have The Rose Gate, which is a retelling Beauty and the Beast, which Wolf Gate, by the way, was Red Riding Hood. So we have the Rose Gate now. And The Rose Gate is about Isabel Watson. So Isabel Watson and her 2 sisters live in Pilot Bay with their dad. They had to move there after their dad lost his fortune and his wife left him and the girls. Belle works at the library with Miss Chloe, the head librarian. And one day, after escaping a triggering fight between her dad and younger sister Amber, who's a bit of a troubled teen, she gets chased by wolves and a bear into the land of Faerie. As it turns out, the bear is actually a wounded and scarred Fae prince named Leith, who is under a curse from the unseelie queen. As Isabel gets to know the prince and his servants, she tries with all her might to find a way to break the curse and save everyone she's come to know and love. Also, I'm sorry if the camera moved. I was shifting my pile of books that I have here, and it just... So, I'm really sorry if that had happened. Yeah, we're still good. All right, so then the next book is the other novella, The Lily Gate. This one is definitely one of my favorites. It is so stinking sweet and adorable. Basically, it has been described as like The Bachelorette meets the Frog Prince, and here is a summary. Princess Twala was blessed with the gift of true love at her christening. So when the time for her 18th birthday comes around, along with a competition for her hand in marriage, she struggles with trying to logically weed out the right person. Although having a talking amphibian friend to spy on the princes in the competition and bring her back information doesn't hurt. So yeah, this one's actually kind of one of the first ones that like takes place about someone in the world of Faerie, and there's not really a lot of like crossover with like the real world, except for like a little scene at the end, but I won't spoil that. But it's a really interesting story. I loved how it was done. It's only like 80 pages, but it's so stinking adorable and sweet. So yes. So anyway, moving on. Hold on. Coffee. Moving on to the second full-length novel, which is The Glass Gate. I love it so much. Okay, The Glass Gate. Here is your summary. Ella is practically an indentured servant, living in her stepmother's basement and doing most, if not all, the work at her bridal shop. She has dreams of going to New York, working on her fashion portfolio, but lacks inspiration. She wants to get a scholarship at a school there. And also she loves Project Runway. However, when her new friend, one of the Watson sisters, wink wink, introduces her to the world of fairy, an opportunity for tons of inspiration is laid out before her. All she has to do is be the fake girlfriend to the crown prince of the Seelie court, Prince Tiernan, wink wink. As Ella fills her notebook with inspiring outfit after inspiring outfit, she also gets to spend some quality time with the prince and realizes that he's more than just the charming persona he puts on. He's actually kind, caring, and willing to do whatever he can to save the ones he loves, including her. Ah! And also, one thing that I loved about, like, how Hannah wrote the story is the character of Ella deals with anxiety, and she wrote it in such a really real way that was just very, very grounding, and just it was so good. Like, I really related to the character of Ella and like what she deals with, especially dealing with such a toxic family dynamic, such as her stepfamily, obviously. So yeah. And then finally, I have a summary for the Frost Gate, aka, you know, Snow White, which, and obviously if you couldn't figure it out, Glass Gate is Cinderella. All right, so the Frost Gate. Neve, remember that name? Neve was adopted when she was just 5 years old, but has only one lingering memory of her birth mother, a delicious apple pie that, no matter how many times she's baked, cannot replicate the taste of. When a big, axe-wielding Fey man comes to her door one evening, yelling that she has to come with him or else the wolves will kill her, she bids her adopted parents goodbye and grabs the two things that matter most to her: her sword and her 7 chickens. 7 chickens. They escape to fairy and adventure through the various lands that apparently are supposed to be hers by right. But though she's fallen in love with the people she's met and gotten to know, can she rise up and take the throne and the crown that she's been born to take? And can she melt the ice that's around the huntsman's heart as well? Yeah, so anyway, really excited about that. I hope you guys love those summaries. And then obviously that is the order in which you should read them. And then I was actually thought it would be really fun if I read to you an answer that Hannah gave to one of her most asked questions, which was about like, what order should one read her books? And I know that obviously I just gave you the order, but she actually gives a really good in-depth detail of like why you should read it this way, sort of, even though it's still more like a suggestion. But I thought you guys should hear it from her mouth. So in the words of Hannah, what order should you read the books? Here's what she says. The short answer is, whatever order you want. Oh my goodness. They are all They are all their own self-contained stories, each with a different couple in the same world. The major spoilers that will be that the couples get together. And you know what? Those are fairy tale romances. All the couples get together. But if you want a better answer, read on. The Wolf Gate is novella length, so it's a good place to start if you want to try my books out. Technically, this one runs parallel to the Rose Gate. It takes place during part 2 of the Rose Gate specifically, except the epilogue, which is a bit later. Or you could start with the Rose Gate is a good place to start because it's the first one I wrote. It's a full-length Beauty and the Beast retelling with talking forest animals, apple picking, and beekeeping. It takes place before the events of the Glass Gate. However, the Lily Gate is a little book. It's a novelette, basically, that takes place at the same time as the Wolf Gate. Look for a hint for when Audrey meets Tiernan in the Wolf Gate. So, you probably don't know what that means, but just read her books. Just read the books. Yes, same time at the Wolf Gate. It ends at the same time as the Wolf Gate. You're also going to want to look for an Easter egg for that in the epilogues of both books. And then the epilogue takes place after the end of the Rose Gate. So just pick one of these 3. You can start with whichever one strikes your mood. If you look closely at the paperbacks, while I didn't number them, they do make an ombre with the spines, and I, for that reason, shelved them in this order: Wolf, Rose, and Lily. So if you've noticed at the beginning, it's very creates an ombre in that order. Do you regret this question yet? I'm sorry. That's literally what she said. The Glass Gate is the second novel-length story. It definitely comes after those three and before The Frost Gate, which is the third full-length novel. I do recommend reading The Wolf Gate before Frost, at the very least, just because you'll be excited to see the Unseelie crew again, and Audrey and Gavin will finally get their happily ever after. But honestly, people have started with any of the books that caught their eye and then gone back and read the others. Honestly, she's not wrong. All right. We're getting to the end. Oh, excuse me. The longer I talk, the more my throat is just like, ugh, need liquid. Alrighty, so this one, I'm just going to kind of give my thoughts on some of the characters, and I'm going to give you some couple rankings because each book obviously has a couple in it. So I'm going to give you my personal thoughts and rankings on these couples, and I'm going to actually give you a couple of fun little tidbits that Hannah's readers, Hannah did like a poll. She does like a fun like reader poll in her newsletter. At least, I don't know if she did one this year because she kind of did away sort of with her newsletter, but not really. Because she's mostly just doing stuff on Patreon now. But she used to do like a reader poll to see like, okay, which of my couples is the most favorite? And so I'm going to be kind of like lining that up with what I rank them. So anyway, if it's not obvious at this point, The Rose Gate is my personal favorite book because it was the first one that I read. And also, I love Beauty and the Beast. And I just love Isabel and Leith so much. Like, they are just, like, my favorite couple ever out of this whole series. And I ranked them number 1. And what's fun is in Hannah's poll that she did in her newsletter in 2023, that's when I finally signed up for her newsletter. In 2023, Isabel and Leith actually won that. And then actually the next year, they won again. So they've been winning pretty consistently. And I think it's because The Rose Gate is the first book that everyone reads pretty much. Maybe not everyone, but, you know, pretty much. So yeah, pretty fun all around. And I just loved them the best anyway. And I just, you know, I don't know, I just loved their relationship as well. It was really sweet. And I think another reason why Rose Gate was my favorite is because Hannah, this is going to come up in part 2, but Hannah is a Christian and she doesn't really like mention it too much in her books. She just makes them like really sweet, clean, you know, books. But she does mention God quite a few times in The Rose Gate because the character of Isabel is, I believe that she's like a Christian, or at the very least, like God means a lot to her. And one of my favorite things throughout The Rose Gate is it mentions that Isabel has been praying for the character of Leith. And like she kind of like asks him, like, because he has like a lot of shame and regret and guilt from stuff that he's done, like stuff that's happened to him and stuff that he's done in his life, basically. And one of my favorite moments is when he asks her, like, have you been praying for me? And she's like, I've been praying for you since the day I met you. And just, oh my God. It's so stinking cute. Anyway, my second favorite couple is Ella and Tiernan from The Glass Gate. They're just so sweet. I love how, like, it was so complex and very well written. You know, like, we have, like, Ella who deals with anxiety. She's been thrust in this whole new world. She's trying to make a better future for herself. You know, she's, like, wanting to be this fashion designer and make a difference. And then Tiernan, you know, like, he's kind of afraid to fall in love for reasons that is given in the book. And he's also trying to kind of, like, overthrow his father, who is a bit of a tyrant. Not a bit of, he is a tyrant. And he's just like, I don't have time for love. And it was just like so sweet and complex and just, I loved them. And also in the 2023 reader poll that they actually did get second place, which I thought was funny. But however, last year, 2024, they got third place. So sad. My third favorite couple is Twala and Naven. I didn't mention him by name, but they are the couple in the Lily Gate from the kind of like bachelorette competition kind of thing. It was just simple and sweet and cute. They're childhood friends that, you know, grow to become lovers. They're just so cute, and I just love them. You know, such a sweet, short and simple story. And I believe in 2023, they got 4th place. Sad. And then, yeah, they also got 4th place in 2024 as well. Okay, here is where here's where it kind of differs. So 3rd place is Audrey and Gavin, and they barely get 3rd place. And here's why. So Audrey is a little bit kind of stubborn. She's a little bit of like a stubborn female character, and those aren't my favorite kind of characters. They're not. Like any female character nowadays that I see that's like strong, independent, like stubborn, I'm just like, I feel like people, it's really hard to write a stubborn female lead that is likable. It's really, really hard. So I'm not blaming Hannah at all for this. It's just like Audrey was a very hard pill to swallow for me. Very hard character. Like, I couldn't really like relate to her. I honestly felt more sorry for Gavin and related more to him than Audrey, but I will say she was not as bad as other characters that I have read, you know. I will say she does not, wait, hold on. Yeah, so she does commit the sin of hating on the men around her, kind of acting like she's, you know, always right most of the time, you know, because like her, you know, she's holding a grudge. But she does realize her wrongs, and she admits it, and she actually softens to Gavin and, you know, like his story and what actually happened to him. And yeah, and like they work everything out, thankfully. And like she, you know, because I feel like the problem with a lot of main female characters is they never admit that they're wrong. And it was kind of refreshing to see Audrey kind of admit like, oh yeah, I was wrong to think this of you, or to, you know, believe this about you. So, and then in last place, I'm sorry, but Nev and Killian. Now, I did still love the Frostgate. The Frostgate was the Frostgate was still a really good book and everything. Nev kind of commits the same sin as Audrey. And I'm going to read off from my notes, so that way I'm not going on a huge tangent because this video is already long. So here we go. I loved Killian and his arc. When you read the book, you'll understand what I mean. But I strongly disliked Nev because she is an annoying, strong, and independent female lead who often acts like she's right. She sometimes belittles men in her thinking and just does what she wants, even when people, usually men, tell her that maybe that's not a good idea to do whatever she's about to do. And they actually have a good reason as to why she shouldn't be doing what she's about to do, but she's still like, I'm going to do it anyway. I hate it when female leads do that. Especially if it's men, and there have been like even women characters who are just like, hey, female lead, don't do this. Yeah. It's whenever a female lead does that, especially if it's to a man who's just like, hey, I'm just trying to help you out. Maybe you shouldn't do this. She's like, oh, you're going to tell me what to do? F you. I'm out. You know, I don't like that. Hate that. Sorry. Anyway, I'm going on this tangent here. However, I will say there is a soft, kind side to her, but I feel like that soft, kind side kind of does lean into the stubbornness, because there was like a moment in one of Hannah's short stories that she did, because she also does cute little side short stories. There was like a little short story where like Nev is being all cute and adorable, like with some, you know, like there's some cute little animals because she can talk to animals. And it was like really adorable because she's like talking to these little animals. And then she looks up at Killian and she's like, can we invite them to the party that we're going to have? And he's like, Nev, they're going to eat the decorations basically, because the decorations are like floral, like, you know, very edible for like little creatures who usually eat green things, you know, little bunnies. And she's like, well, they said they wouldn't do anything. And like, even though he's still telling her, he's like, hey honey, maybe this isn't, I don't know, she's still like, we're doing it, And I'm just like, I'm going to have to take a step back because or else I'm going to say or do something that's not nice, you know? I don't like it when female characters do that. Even when they're like actually sweet and adorable, it's just like when the stubbornness, don't like that. I did go off on a tangent. I didn't just read my notes. She does learn to care for obviously, yeah, she learns to care for her people and Killian and helps him become a better person while he helps her realize the queen that she's meant to be. So I will say that's actually, I do like that she does help Killian out. I actually did like that. She helps him become a better person. They got last, but to be fair, their book also like hadn't like come out yet either. Oh no, wait. Oh, sorry, that last note that I just said about they got last, but their book hadn't come out yet, that's because in the reader poll that had come out in 2023, at that time the book had not been released yet, and so they ended up just getting last in the reader poll because, you know. However, though, last year they got second, so they bumped all the way up to second in the reader poll, which I wasn't really happy about because I was like, they're not my favorite couple, but that's what the readers said. But anyway, I don't know. I think maybe I just need to do a reread of the Frostgate and see if a lot of these nitpicks that I have are really that, you know, needed. But anyway, so we are almost done. I'm hoping that I have enough space to be able to say what I need to say. So we're just going to go through things really quickly. I think, yeah, only thing left in my notes for this part of the video is about the side characters, and there's a lot of side characters that I love, so I'm just gonna go through them, or I don't know if I should go through them actually. I'm gonna go through them really quick. So in the Rosegate, I would say one of my favorite side characters of all time is Isabel's sisters. Lily is the oldest, and then Amber is the youngest, and I've been mentioning Amber throughout the video. Amber is kind of like a troubled teen. She's like 16, and, you know, you can tell that she's going to get into trouble. She's hanging out with the wrong crowd. She's doing underage drinking, all the things. And, you know, she's really going down a wrong path. But thankfully, like at the end of the story, you know, she does have a realization of like, okay, maybe I don't need to be doing this. And I will say, props to Hanna Sandvig for this. Amber is literally my favorite side character of all time because she has like one of the best character arcs throughout a series that I have ever seen. Like literally, it's just like you go from like disliking her, thinking she's annoying, and hating her as like the troubled, kind of like, you know, almost a bully to her sisters. You know, she's just like so like, rough around the edges. You go to loving her in, you know, just the span of a couple of books. Like, I feel like she already gets better at the end of the Rosegate, but in the Glassgate especially, I'm not going to spoil it, but let's just say there's a moment in the Glassgate where I was like, I love Amber. She is like the bestest friend anyone could ever have. I love her. All the things. And then even the character of Lily, she doesn't really show up that much, but she's just like a sweet, solid rock for the other Watson sisters, and I love her for it. Sorry, my nose is so itchy. Yeah, so the character of Miss Chloe, I like her. There are a few moments where I kind of am not a big fan of her because, you know, she just meddles a lot, and I am someone who usually doesn't like people who meddle and are just like nosy, like all up in my business, but she's still funny. Like, she's still funny. I loved a lot of the animal, like, side characters in the Rosegate as well. They were just so cute. So, like, basically, like, you know, it's, you know, the Beauty and the Beast storyline and everything. And all of the servants had been turned into woodland creatures. They're so adorable and so sweet. So, yeah. And then in, like, the Glassgate, we get to meet the members of Prince Tiernan's like war band, basically. They're called a Fianna, I believe is what you call it in Gaelic. But they're like, you know, this whole group. And I loved like the whole team, basically. I'm just going to name off a few because we're short for time. But Declan is like his right-hand man who's like fierce warrior, but he's also a bit of a mama's boy. We have Haru, who is like, he's kind of like supposed to be kind of like a Japanese kind of like look, because that one thing that I liked about Hanna is that she kind of adds a lot of these kind of like semi-diverse groups. Like she kind of adds different folklore into the story, because she keeps it centrally on like Irish, Gaelic, like folklore, but she adds in like a bit of Norse mythology in there. There's also some Japanese folklore. And so there's other like fae characters who have these characteristics of these other cultures. Like the character of Killian is actually very much a black man. And the character of Haru is, you know, he's got Japanese features. So I really, really liked that kind of mix of like, I like that she didn't just stick with one thing, but she made like a really cool kind of melting pot of like all the different folklores from around the world. And then we have like this really big dude called Fergus. He like loves looking for birds and everything. It's funny. He's like this big hulking dude, but he's like, ooh, did I hear like a cardinal or what? Like he's always like naming off these different like birds. He's like, oh, that was, you know, he's like a serious birder, basically. We have Sarsha, who is Tiernan's adopted sister. Excuse me. She is super tough. And then we have Calder. He is my favorite. He's like this part, he's like half vampire or like whatever in Irish folklore like a vampire was. He's really cool. I kind of want him to have his own story, but I don't know. Also, if you're hearing something, it sounds, I think the neighbors are mowing their lawn. So sorry about that. Sorry, my nose is just so itchy. And then we also have like this cute little dragon named Kiyohime. It's a little pocket dragon based on the dragons from Japanese folklore. And that is it all in the glass gate, by the way. And then just to kind of level off some more of the characters that, just like characters that I kind of like, you know, stuck out to me. Oh my goodness. In the Wolf Gate. So remember how I was talking about like, you know, Audrey and Gavin have to escape the wolf pack that he's a part of. The leader of the pack is this douchebag named Dylan. He's the absolute worst. Oh my god. He's so evil and so scary. Oh my goodness. Yeah, he comes back throughout a couple of the books. He's not just in the Wolf Gate, but he's scary. Also, I hope that saying douchebag was not a bad, like, I don't know, like, sorry about that. And then in the Frost Gate, I absolutely loved the chickens. I thought that they were so cute. So the 7 chickens, Hanna just thought it would be funny and it would be like a cute kind of like cute cozy thing to kind of incorporate into the story. Also, she owns chickens, and I think it was like her kids that kind of helped her develop that. Her kids were also the reason why she included a pocket dragon in the glass gate. So yeah, we have 7 chickens, and they all have a counterpart to the Disney dwarves, which I thought was so cute. And you know what? I'm not going to actually name off who their counterpart is. I'm just going to let you read the book and try to figure out for yourself. She did give us, you know, a list of like who their counterpart is, but all I'm going to say is I'm going to give you the name of the chicken, and I'm going to give you what kind of chicken breed they are. I didn't know there were so many breeds of chickens, but there are. All I'm going to give you is the names of the chickens and what kind of breed they are, but I'm not going to give you the counterpart. First, we have Espresso, aka Essie. She is a black Barnevelder hen. I think that's how you pronounce it. There's a lot of names that are hard to pronounce here. We have Clementine. She is a buff Orpington hen. Then we have Waffles, who is a silver-laced Wyandotte rooster. We have Meringue, who is a white silky hen. I have seen silkies. They're so cute. We have Latte, who is a blue Cochin hen. I think that's how you pronounce it. We have Paprika, or Pip, who is a Millefleur Belgian Duke. I don't know how to say that. It's a hen. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. And then last but not least, we have Snickerdoodle, who is a buff a buff Polish rooster. Not Polish, but Polish. All right. Anyway, so yeah, that's pretty much the end of my notes. We are already at like an hour, so I'm going to stop it right there before the storage on my phone goes up. Hopefully not. Jesus, no. But anyway, stay tuned for part 2. I'm also going to do a short form video showing you guys all of the merch and swag that I have gotten from Hanna, because I feel like trying to show it in like a separate video would be better than just putting it in one. And I already have so many notes. I had so many notes for part 1, and I already have a lot of notes for part 2. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please go check out Hanna. Go read her books. She's amazing. She's working on her next book now, I believe. She has like a couple of Kickstarters in the works. So just go check her out. I highly recommend. I love, love, love her books so much. So anyway, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, for bearing with me through all my notes. And yeah, I love you guys. God bless, and goodbye. Bye.